Ever heard of the phrase keys to the kingdom? Well, in cybersecurity, privileged accounts are those keys. And if they fall in the wrong hands, attackers walk straight into the digital castle. Today, we are talking about privileged access management, the silent guardian sitting at the core of modern day security strategy. Stick around because at the end of this episode, you'll know why a PAM is more than a control box in a checklist. It's a strategic defense layer that stops full blown breaches in their tracks. So, what is PAM and why is it important? Let's start simple. What exactly is privileged access management? Privileged accounts. Think of system administrators, database credentials, cloud infrastructure keys. Think of AI agents that are holding access to some of sensitive data. Privileged accounts can access critical systems with elevated privileges. Without control, a compromised privilege account is like leaving the vault combination taped to the door. PAM helps organization to do a lot of these safeguarding of privileges within an infrastructure. So a PAM will centralize and control who can access what, limit when and how they access it, monitor and record those sessions. It will also enforce policies like just-in-time access and least privilege. This isn't just theory. Gartner Gartner explicitly positions PAM as a top priority defense strategy because privilege access is a top attack target. And when you talk about privilege access, what do you think when we talk about privilege escalation after infiltration handles? It exactly handles what we are trying to address today with the privilege access management. So after an attacker breaches your servers, your perimeter defenses, your network defenses, and actually gets into the hosts, or even if it's a peripheral host, the next thing they try to do is to do something called privilege escalation. They try to see which accounts can they hijack to get the highest privileges to for maximum impact or even lateral movement across your enterprise. And that is essentially what we are looking at when we talk of privilege access management. So it isn't just a theory. Gartner explicitly positions privilege access management as a top priority in defense strategies because privilege access is at the top is at the top of an attacker's mind, and controls like vaulting, rotation of keys in passwords and logs, and the super user sessions reduce this risk significantly. So let's look at PAM and where it sits in defense in depth. Remember, we talked about security in an enterprise being a layered approach from all the layers of security. We are talking of your perimeter, we are talking about your network, we are talking about your hosts, your applications. So all these layers, if we put them into perspective, they will need some sort of defense. So that if one layer is breached, then the defenses you have put in the subsequent layers can take over and try to minimize the blast radius. Now, where does a PAM sit within this layered approach of security that we are calling defense in depth? So, picture a fortress. Let's use that example. Everyone who has been young at one point have seen these movies of fortresses and how they were protected. The outer wall, that is the perimeter. That is where you would put your firewalls in modern day cybersecurity. Then we look at the moat and the gate. The moat is that ditch that was done around the fortresses. So that is where now you put your network access controls. Then let's go now to the inner posts. The inner posts, that is where now you start putting identity and your identity and access management, IAM. Then the vault gates, that is where now the privilege access management sits. So IAM handles basic identity verification. I mean, who you say you are. That is what an identity and access management solution does. Assume you have a solution like AD, a basic solution like Active Directories in a Windows environment. So its major job is to verify your identity, who you say you are, right? PAM is about what you can do with, with your identity once you're verified. So you're saying, picture a situation where you have role-based access controls, where you have administrators. So you have administrators, you have executives, you have people with all different kind of roles and permissions that go with those roles. So a PAM is about what you can do with your verified identity. It is a deep internal control, the final barrier before someone with elevated rights can change or influence any resource within the system. So it ensures that after you have been authenticated, after you have been verified, you have been identified, you are who you are, before you can access sensitive data, before you can disrupt operations, then you're meeting the privilege access management. So if an attacker breaches the perimeter and snoops the network credentials, PAM stands between them and powerful privileges. So it's essential to mention that it is not just a login gate, it's a monitoring, control, inspection, and accountability all rolled into one. So let's look at PAM and its relation to the governance aspect of an organization and how it could relate to auditing, information systems auditing. Now, governance is often seen as the fun police, but PAM is what makes governance actually enforceable. It provides what, where, and when of every high risk action. Let's look at policy enforcement. A PAM automatically applies principles such as the principle of least privilege, no more admin for life accounts. In conventional accounts, in conventional systems, if you have an admin level role with its permissions, then that's it. Even if that account is compromised, then your goose is well as cooked. So a PAM will help in policy enforcement. If you start looking at the policies of principle of least privileges, just-in-time access, those are things that a PAM is able to automate and enforce. The other thing with regards to governance is audit and compliance. Whether you're talking about standards such as SOC 2, ISO 27001, GDPR, HIPAA, a PAM provides tamper-proof session recordings. When an auditor asks how you're protecting customer data, you don't just say, we are careful. You show the logs, you show the evidence, actual system supported, factual, facility supported evidence. You show the logs of how you've been maintaining access to that data, roles that access that data, that kind of thing. What about risk visibility? In governance, that is a huge thing. If you cannot visualize your risk, then there's no essence of trying to protect anything or trying to improve a security posture. So for risk visibility, tools within a PAM like identity graphs now visualize hidden paths to privilege, helping governance teams to find and close backdoors before an attackers can utilize them. Let's come back to the issue of defense in depth. So, security viewed as a layered approach. Security viewed as a concerted effort at each level of an enterprise architecture, trying to safeguard it. Let's say normally you'd have a perimeter, you'd have your network defenses, you'd have your web servers protected, your database protected, your hosts protected. At each juncture, you have a protection mechanism, and that is the essence, such that if one defense is breached, then the other mitigation measures can kick in, the other defenses can kick in, and that is what we are calling defense in depth. You view security as a layered approach. Now, how does a PAM fit into this? So, if you're working with layers such as found in an onion, then PAM is one of the inner most critical layers. It sits squarely between your network perimeter defenses and your data itself. Now, the aspect of the identity layer. PAM acts as the ultimate checkpoint. Even if the perimeter is breached, remember the identity and access management. If you have such a solution, if that is breached, the attacker cannot escalate their privileges and move laterally without hitting the PAM wall. The other thing is the blast radius containment. While using principles such as just-in-time access, you ensure that even if an admin's workstation is compromised, they don't have active credentials for an attacker to steal. So yes, you'll compromise the identity, the credentials of the admin, but the access, there's no, yes, there are credentials, but they are not active. They can help you. That is the rotation we were talking about. So I hope you can start to see the essence of a privileged access management. So let's look at the use cases of a privileged access management in the current time, 2026, when we are discussing this. So PAM isn't just for the IT guy in the basement anymore. It is an enterprise feature. And some of the use cases we are talking about, as we said, number one is just-in-time access. This is temporarily elevating of rights for a specific task. If an admin is fixing a database, then their admin is momentarily elevated for them to handle that task. Why does that matter? It eliminates the always on admin account kind of thing, right? That if you're an admin, you are that account is always active. So just in time prevents that to ensure that on a need basis, you can be temporarily elevated and then automatically degraded to a less sensitive role or permissions. Then the other use case is session recording. This is quite critical, especially when you're doing your post-mortem, your digital forensics and incidents response. So for session recording, full video logs of administrative sessions are kept, whether you're doing your SSH sessions, all these are recorded. Why does this matter? This is essential, as I said, for post-incidents handling. When you're responding to incidences, when you're doing your forensic investigations, these video-like logs for administrative sessions come in really handy. Let's look at the next use case, secrets management. Here, you're securing non-human entities, your APIs, your CI/CD pipelines, your AI agents, you're securing these. So machines now outnumber humans at a ratio of about 45-1. And therefore, you need to manage your secrets, all the keys that you're using to to access to access various systems. You talked about your APIs, your CI/CD pipelines. That is the essence of it. Let's talk about agentic AI governance as a use case for PAM. This entails controlling the privileges of autonomous AI agents that are helping you automate various tasks in your organization. So, if you're automating something, it means you have to have an input, a process, and an output. And therefore, you're likely, these agentic AIs are likely to be accessing very sensitive data. And therefore, you will need a PAM to automatically manage the access, to automatically manage their privileges, right? Now, to ensure in 2026, ensuring AI doesn't go rogue with your administrative rights. So it is as simple as that. Now, I would want us to talk about the vendors who are currently well known in this space of privilege access management. So let's cut to the chase. The Gartner's heavyweights in this space of privilege access management. So if you're looking to buy, these are the vendors currently dominating the conversation on privilege access management. So number one, we have CyberArk. CyberArk are looked upon as the godfathers of PAM. They are best known for their comprehensive, which is an account and session management, and it's moving towards a unified identity security system. So this is privilege access solution by CyberArk. So theirs is an identity security platform. Number two, we have Beyond Trust, Pathfinder platform. So this is a leader in remote PAM, remote privilege access management, and endpoint privilege management. Their true privilege graph is a game changer for visualizing attack paths, as we mentioned earlier. Then we have Delineer. These are known for being user-friendly and having world-class privilege elevation and delegation management system for Unix and for Unix-like systems, right? As you know, most servers are Linux-based, and Delineer have positioned themselves in that space. So you can see people who have their own niche, specializing in Unix-based systems. These are the people to go for. Delineer, I hope I'm pronouncing it properly. Then finally, we come to the last major player, who is Savint, the king of convergence. If you want your governance and PAM in one single cloud native dashboard, then Savint is the go-to. So we said CyberArk are known as the leaders. They are the godfathers of privilege access management platforms. Then we have Beyond Trust and Delineer, then Savint. So CyberArk, Beyond Trust, Delineer, and Savint. So those are the main contenders I would mention according to Gartner 2025-2026 ranking of the players in privilege access management solutions. So to conclude, PAM is no longer an optional security layer. It's a core of zero trust architecture. By moving from static passwords to dynamic ephemeral access, ephemeral is short-lived. You turn your biggest liability, privileged accounts, into your strongest defense proposition. So as we conclude, we realized we never mentioned other players who are not quite at the top, but they are worth mentioning. So number one is One Identity Safeguard. They integrate PAM into broader identity and access management ecosystem. Then we have PAM 360 or Cron PAM or Sectona. They are well rated in Gartner Peer Insight community. Then we have Keeper PAM. It's a cloud native PAM and zero trust integration, making it easy to deploy. So each has the strengths from deep session monitoring to cloud fast identity federation. So your choices depends on your environment and governance maturity. What are our last thoughts, our call to action? So if your organization hasn't prioritized privilege access management yet, treat this episode like your wake up call. Security doesn't have to be that expensive. We have given you options. You can have a look at them and evaluate what meets your need in the immediate term. As we said, this depends on your needs, on your government, on your governance maturity levels. So as we talk about these solutions, always know, look at your processes, try to mature your processes before you can now take a decisive step of implementing a defense and or even now being certified, right? So the other thing is start with risk assessment of privileged accounts. Once you have that, and once you start visualizing the impact of your privileged accounts, then you have an idea what could go wrong if this kind of accounts are hijacked. Then the third thing is evaluate PAM solutions that fit your environment. If it's a hybrid environment, if it's an on-prem environment, most of the people these days have both on-prem and the cloud. That is hybrid solutions. There are others who are purely cloud. So evaluate your PAM solution that fits your need, hybrid or fully cloud native. And most importantly, combine tools with policy, training, and governance. So, because in the world of cybersecurity, you protect what you see and you see what you control. My closing thoughts. Thanks for tuning to Gumzo Cybersecurity Podcast for this episode. If this episode opened your eyes about how critical privilege access management is in defense in depth, give us a rating, share with your colleague, and subscribe to our next to our podcast. And we can look forward to our next episode on zero trust authentication or even multi-factor authentication exhaustion, the scenarios that we are witnessing this nowadays. So until next time, stay safe, stay vigilant, and remember, it's not if attackers come, it's when, and PAM is your alarm bell.